This video will show you how to run effects in parallel using the Line 6 HX effects unit. Parallel means that two effects which are both on are not in the same signal chain, so the output of one does not go into the input of the other, which is the normal arrangement and is called serial. There are a number of situations better suited to running effects in parallel. Here are a few. Firstly, if you're running two delays, one short and one long for example, running them as serial means that the repeats of the first will also be repeated by the second alongside the original signal. Now you may actually want this, and it does have its applications, but generally it will create a lot of unwanted repeats. Running the two delays in parallel will eliminate this. Secondly, running two gain or overdrive effects in parallel will create a cleaner, less saturated sound than in serial. This may be something you want if you have two overdrives with different tonal characteristics, for example. There are a number of other situations that work with two of the same effects in parallel. Compression is a good example, but you can also use parallel for more creative purposes. The HX effects allows you to split paths based on frequency and, since the 2.90 firmware update, on dynamics, or how hard you play. So how do you create parallel effects in the Line 6 HX effects? Well, it's all done from the signal path. So if we just select a preset, I'm going to choose this one here, and enter the main stomp box mode. To select the signal path or signal flow, you press the options button, which is top left here, the three lines. Tap that and you see you've got signal flow. If we press that, then we can see the signal flow along the bottom, and we can see that all of our effects are in strict serial, so one follows the other. Now if we want to change that, we just select the effects block we want to use with the big knob. So currently it's set to vintage digital. If I rotate it, you can see it goes through the different options. And if we want to put the fuzz on a different path, for example, highlight the fuzz, and then from here we can see the button 2 is assigned to path A. We turn it, it's now path B, and you can see the fuzz is now on a different path. Now, in this scenario, we still have the overdrive going into the fuzz, so to put them on completely different paths, we need to select this node here and then move block. So there you can now see it's gone before the overdrive, so that they are now on completely different paths. The same applies to the node after the reverb. If we move to select that, again move block before the reverb, so now that the fuzz path also hits the reverb as well. So we can see now we've created a parallel path containing the fuzz, which has no other effects on it but does feedback in to the reverb. And just to reiterate the point, if we want to put one of those delays on the same path as the fuzz, then we select it, button 2 to change path, and it's now on the second path. So we now have two completely parallel paths, one with overdrive and delay and one with fuzz and then delay. So once you've set up your parallel path, there are a number of options or things you can do with it in terms of the path itself. So if we, using the big knob, highlight the node where the path actually splits, you'll see top right hand side we've got split Y. What that means is that both paths have the same amount of signal going through them. So the signal is split evenly between path A and path B. But there are a number of different options you can choose for this path, and to do that you press the big knob button and you can see the different options we've got. So we've got split Y, split AB. Now that allows you to choose the amount of signal that goes to each path. So you could have 60% going to path A, 40 to B, etc. Split crossover. Now that is where the split is determined by the frequency. So you can have all frequencies below 1000 Hertz going to path A and all the others going to path B. And the other final one, which has only just been introduced as I make this video with the 2.90 firmware update, and that's split dynamic. So how hard you play determines where the signal goes. So if you hit it really hard, it might go to path A, or softly to path B.